I'm really bored by the market today. Um, Palantir just keeps going higher. The indexes keep going higher. The small caps also tends to maybe change the corner up here a little bit. I'm just so bored when the market does well. I don't know. Like, there's nothing that really excites me. I think you can tell from my voice. I'm not even playing the jingle today. That's just what it is. The chart that I'm showing you here, this is the top 20 companies to which I have the highest exposure on my biggest trading account. I have another couple of like retirement account between me and Mrs. Cat, and I also have another trading account. The other trading account are like Coinbase. I have some double leverage Bitcoin ETF, BITX on there. I also have DraftKings on there, but that's a separate account. It's not big by any means. This is like really my biggest kind of trading account. On this trading account, also have exposure to the S&P 500 and Nasdaq funds like SPY and QQQ. The reason why is because I manage money for both me and Mrs. Cat. I have to take into consideration her risk tolerance, right? So as far as I'm concerned, the reason why I keep talking about the big three stocks like Palantir, Tesla, and Nvidia, because they really are my biggest three exposures. I have additional exposures to like Tesla, to Nvidia, on my retirement funds. I generally, but anyway, same thing. Like I have exposure with like the big Magnificent Seven, like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, all that stuff, including also like I would consider AVGO, Broadcom to also be up there. So these are generally stocks that I have the most exposures to anyway, just from retirement funds. So I generally don't like to allocate money that much into it, with exception if I want to do a little bit more like a uh, leverage play, which I do. I have two or three leverage fund positions. They're not meant to be like held long term, but I do, because I generally still find that the risk reward is still pretty decent. So, for example, I have the TQQQ exposure. For those people who don't know, TQQQ is the triple leverage Nasdaq 100 fund, and I also have SSO, which is a double leverage S&P 500 fund. And on top of that, I also have USD. USD is actually a double leverage semiconductor market weighted fund. So Nvidia is going to be the heaviest weighted on there. And because of that, actually, they're showing up here as well because of that. So those are going to be some of the positions I'm going to keep holding until I really seriously see something scary. Like there's a big sign for trend change in terms of the overall market, which I don't think is over yet. I bet the bull market is probably going to be another year or two further, based on technical, based on fundamental, just based on cycle analysis. That I think we're starting to enter maybe a little bit more like longer term, like euphoric 12 to 18 months of like a euphoria type situations here, which we're just kind of starting. But yeah, the reason why I talk about Palantir, Nvidia, Tesla, right, is because I have a lot of exposure, and also have TQQQ. I think I started buying around, I would say I started buying around like June of 2022, which I thought was the low point. Obviously, the stock market kept on going down further to like October 2022, and that's when it bottomed, right? But even those that I ended up starting buying June through October, and I kept buying till maybe like February, March of 2023. Like those are up a lot, both in terms of the teachable Q and in terms of the SSO, and also a lot of exposure to USD, the semiconductor, and those are also up a lot. So right now I'm not really so much adding into those. I'm just trying to find these individual stock opportunities that I like. So Palantir I've been buying for a very long time. I even posted about it like when prices in the single digits, and I really have been buying for like at least a couple of years, to the point that I was so excited about Palantir. I even wrote like a Shakespearean sonnet for it. I mean, I can read it too, but it's kind of gross. So I'm not going to. I pinned it to my X account. You want to check it out. But this is basically what I wrote back in January. I thought that price was going to go a lot higher back when prices around the teens. I also have posted back in like, like 2022, where I think price is going to be like $40 by like early 2024. Obviously, it didn't work out, but hey, I'm very bullish on Palantir. It's my biggest stock position. And other than that, I do still feel, relatively bullish on Bitcoin, even though it's been taking a dump. It's just been kind of, and I share my thoughts on Bitcoin for quite some time. I do own Bitcoin. I do own Ethereum. My Ethereum position is probably just as big as Palantir. I'm very bullish on Ethereum, moving forward. I talk about it, but I can't tend, nobody seemed to care, but I keep talking about it, I guess. But that's also part of the reason why I have exposure to Robinhood, because I'm bullish on crypto. I'm also why I also keep talking about the miners, because I actually do have a position in many of them, including Mara, CleanSpark. Robinhood, you can also count that as like exposure to the cryptocurrency market. Bitfarms, which I've made many videos on, and Irene. Also have a position in Wolf, but it's just not big enough to show here. Same thing with Cyber, I have a position here too, but it's not in my top 20. So it's barely there, but it's not quite there. Maybe they will become that in a few months. I don't know. But that's kind of what I'm seeing. And then if you do want me to chart a little bit, I can. I did chart a little bit with my friends, Great Masby, and with Tesla Tracker last night. So you want to check out my stream on the other YouTube channel, Mal and Man, with the triumvirate of TA. You can find that really pretty easily. But just a few quick thoughts of Palantir. It's already kind of pushed through this big volume shelf over here. It's getting to like the top of the range where it was stuck in around 2020, 2021. So that's why we had a hard time over the last 6 months to try and get above this area over here. But I think it might be wanting to break out. It looks like things are getting a little bit more impulsive over here. It looks like we might want to break out above the zone. Obviously, we're still not broken above it. I don't think we're really broken above it until price is around like 30 maybe. Once price gets about 30 and it's able to convincingly break above, maybe even do a little bit of a back test before going up higher, I think things can get pretty fun for Palantir. The Bollinger Band is telling you, like I already showed you a few weeks ago, I saw that Bollinger Band was squeezing prices about the 20 week is pointing up, so a big move is coming, is probably going to point up. You can also tell like there's no retail already, like the whale's already in on the MCDX Plus, and they just want to kind of push price up a lot higher. And sure enough, like you basically have weeks number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So far you have 7 really green weeks, and then just absolutely incredibly boring. Some people could consider, hey, maybe we'll come back and back test. Maybe like some people are thinking maybe we'll go back to like 21 or something like that. It tends to do that, it hits top and it goes down to maybe a little bit below the 20-week moving average. So maybe do the same thing, maybe down to like 22 to 21 range, give you a final chance to buy, view of going higher. But I don't think it has to do that. Like right now, it's just you already had the Bollinger Band squeeze and you have the Bollinger Band expansion. It looks like it's one of those that like it might end up going up for a very long time. We are a little bit outside the weekly Bollinger Band. That might be a little bit of a cause for concern, but price can stay out on the top of the upper Bollinger Band for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and it can keep going up a lot higher, right? So I wouldn't want to necessarily bet against it. The only other thing too is you can see that the whales on a weekly is like completely in. There is like no like retail signal or anything like that. Like these whales look like they're ready to potentially push price a lot higher. So we'll see whether or not we're able to break about this like 30 range, because once we really break about this like year-long range over here, you're talking about all-time high around like $45 once it passed 30, and after that things can actually get pretty fun from there. Now, I can't really comment on in terms of you think that Palantir is overvalued, you don't think that, and obviously they're going to have their earnings coming in early August, and their earnings could potentially drag the price of the stock down because you might need to cool off, but the price might be a lot higher at that point by the time when it goes down like 20-30% if the market end up doing that. But honestly though, just looking at the trend, looking at the both in terms of the fundamental analysis, in terms of top line, bottom line, growth, everything, and you also look at the technicals, like it just looks like it wants to go up higher. It's a very volatile stock, so you're going to have volatility, but honestly I think it's better to just like sit in your hands and be bored about it and do nothing about it, which I've been doing really throughout the entire time over here. That's kind of Palantir. I can show you the monthly chart. Monthly chart's not going to tell you too much. I mean, I already talked about the rising 3 methods with one big giant green candle, 3 small bearish candle on like pretty pathetic volume. Bulls sniffed it out and they just pushed price up a lot higher. This is called a rising 3. It looks like it's working out pretty well. Over here you have a rising 2. Over here you have a rising 3. You have no retail left here on the monthly. Like there's really not much to say. I think Palantir is going to go up a lot higher. The question is, how long does it take to really break above this range over here? And if it breaks above, I think things are going to get pretty fun. You have a lot of Welsh momentum already in this. So I think things are going to look pretty decent. Even the Ichimoku Cloud, the Tenkan order conversion line, has flipped from resistance to support for quite some time now. And you had a bullish cross of the Tenkan over Kijun over here. Generally, it means the price can go a lot higher, maybe over the next year and a half, 2 years. It's only been about half a year since we really, had a bullish cross. So I can see Palantir going a lot higher. And if you ask me about like targets, I've talked about targets before, but to be completely honest, like target wise, I think like like most reasonable thing, both in terms of technical as well as fundamental. I think most reasonable thing, I think maybe in like 3 to 5 years, you can hit some of the higher targets up here around the Fibonacci extension, like 1.618 or 2.618, like around $69, 108, something like that. And this is based on kind of a lot of the other stocks that have like great growth momentum during a bull market in terms of where it can reach. Yeah, I mean, I think like 1.618 and 2.618 is not unreasonable during a bull market for a high growth company that has a lot of wells in it that wants to keep growing. I think those are not unreasonable targets for like the next 3 to 5 years. So it's probably better for me to just sit on my hands and do nothing. I could consider buying some like long-term leaps, but like I don't really care. Just hold on to it, see what it does. I sound so bored right now. I sound so bored right now by Palantir. The other thing, Nvidia. I talked about Nvidia last night with the guys. It's overextended. It's overextended, but it can keep getting overextended. Eventually, we're gonna get punished. But even when we get punished, I don't think like it's gonna plummet all the way down, unless because I really don't think we have a trend change yet. Like wells are still at 100%. It'll still look a very, very nice bull trend. I don't think we see any kind of signs of exhaustion, especially if you look at the Bollinger Band on the monthly. Like it looks basically, if you look over this cycle over here, right? Before it starts to get exhausted, it likes to challenge the upper Bollinger Band on the monthly. It just keeps on going up, 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 right? For like a whole year and a half. When things start to get over a little bit exhausted is when things are starting to roll over a little bit and things are starting to get inside the Bollinger Band. And that's when things really start to get exhausted, right? When this happens, the lower Bollinger Band also tells you a lot. If it goes all the way down, that means that the bull trend is very, very strong. If it starts to come back from Earth to go back up to normal, that means that, hey, maybe there's a little bit of a trend change coming. Maybe the bull trend is a little bit exhausted. So like I'm not even really that worried about trend exhaustion until the lower Bollinger Band comes back. Same thing here, like over here about 8 months straight going sideways, that really exhausted the trend. Bollinger Band came back, still went up, making a lot higher. But I'm not even worried about this being the top over there, right? What is the Bollinger Band doing right now? Is it like looking like it's exhausted on the way up like that? No, it keeps on expanding down. Like where's the bottom of the lower Bollinger Band? It's here, it's still expanding. This is still a very, very strong bull trend. Don't work against the trend, right? So this is one of those situations that I would say just buy and hold. And I bought and I held. And I'm going to keep holding. I'm going to try to find out opportunities at this point, but there's not really any reason in particular that I want to sell Nvidia for. Even though it looks overextended, but you can stay overextended for a very, very long time. You can stay overextended for a very, very long time. This is Nvidia that we're talking about. So it could go sideways. It can even go down, but I think overall trend is up. There's no exhaustion. Just stay in it. That's kind of how I think about it. Not financial advice, of course. And if Nvidia does well, what do you think else? What else is going to do well? Well, QQQ, the Nasdaq's going to do well. S&P 500 is going to do well, right? Eventually, the money's going to rotate into other things like small caps, which is starting to do well. So I just think that, I'm not going to be cute about it. If you ask me what I think Tesla is going to do, I did share a little bit on the live stream, from yesterday with the guys. I think that we are at a very similar juncture of this kind of a little slightly negative sloping trend line over here. I think we're getting a little bit of that over here. It's probably going to hit that. I think it's probably getting rejected anywhere around like the 280s, 290s, if not before, because you also have the top Ichimoku cloud over here around 275 right now. it could go sideways and hit that right there for next month. And I think it's probably going to end up maybe getting rejected here at some point and maybe come back down here to 240s before going up, because that's kind of what happened last time. If you look at the trend, and I'm gonna get rid of the each move, I'm gonna show the boomerang support band here. If you look at the boomerang support band, you can see like there's a lot of similarities between where price is right now versus when it was back over in 2020. You know, you have a little bit of a dip over here, and you have the reclaiming of the bull market support band. You have a little bit of dip over here, and you have reclaim on the boomerang support band. Whenever it reclaims it, things just kind of went parabolic, and it's trying to challenge a lot of important trend line up above over here, and it does that. And then when it hits the trend line, a lot of people are just so jaded by Tesla because it went sideways and down for like 2 years over here. It went sideways and down for like 3 years over here. A lot of people are just so jaded that whenever they see it pop, they just want to short it. And they see that a lot of people are probably looking at this trend line over here, the trend line that has gone on ever since like October 2021, which is probably why it didn't really serve as strong resistance here at all, because most people are looking at it for a long time. It's probably gone sideways and down enough for people to lose faith, and like a lot of people that just end up trying to get out of it, sell it, or they might even short it right there. When you do that, it's not gonna go down. And the other thing too is like a lot of people are feeling like they might be starting to feel a lot more FOMO. You're gonna have some resistance over here because people are still gonna sell over here probably around like 280, if not like 300. Right? And whenever you end up selling, they're gonna want to sell these resistance levels. So you're gonna have enough people to try to sell. You're gonna have bears that are gonna try to defend these levels up here. They're gonna basically let the smaller bears to like get burned down here, but they're probably going to end up trying to defend like around 280s and maybe around 300. Kind of like they did over here, but look at how bad the defense is. Like it just went down a little bit, dip a little bit. And I think it might hit like maybe 280s, come down maybe like to the 250s, 240s, dip a little bit, maybe even hit the trend line over here to back test it before going higher. That's kind of what my thoughts are. Of course, there's no guarantee. I do think that things are a little bit overextended, but am I really worried that much about things being overextended? Like, for example, on the weekly, it's like way above the upper Bollinger Band. You should be worried about it, right? Because like over here to do it throughout the entire bear market, like whenever you do that, you end up getting punished a lot later. So should we worry here? Well, it depends if there's a trend change. Like over here, it had like 4 weeks in a row that's above the upper Bollinger Band. And then after that, you have like, how many weeks? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks above the upper Bollinger Band, So that when you get bullish, you get bullish. Like Tesla doesn't care. You consolidate it for like 3 years, and if it becomes bullish, it's just going to become bullish. The other couple things too, if you also look at the correlate in terms of what the whales are doing, they really are coming in. Like looking at the weekly chart, there's a lot of whalish momentum that come in over the last 2 weeks. Even over the last couple of months, you have like a decline of retail, even though whale didn't really show themselves. You have a lot of decline in retail that is really playing out, so it's not insignificant, right? And same thing over here, like whales didn't really do much, but you have declining in retail over here for months and months and months. And then finally with this candle over here, the retail has basically got overwhelmed in terms of percentage-wise by the whales, and whale momentum has really kicked in. You have a little bit of a correction over here that couldn't even get down that low. But that's also because the whales are in, right? Well, are the whales in right now? Yeah, they are. So that's kind of what I thought about Tesla. I'm not going to talk too much about the grainer scheme stuff. I'm just going to end this video early. Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Bye.